You know those international songs our parents told us not to sing because we had no idea what we were singing? Well, I Took a Pill in Ibiza is exactly an example of that.
Pill in Ibiza to show Avicii I was cool.
In 2016, the whole world sang this like it was a party anthem, but Mike Posner himself doesn't even like to sing this stuff anymore.
I mean, the last thing I thought was that this song would be popular. It's called I Took a Pill in Ibiza. I never thought they'd play it on the radio. You're talking about taking ecstasy in the first line?
Because what seemed like a summer hit was actually a dark story disguised as a catchy chorus. And the weirdest thing is, 10 years later, the fate of this song and of Mike Posner himself had a plot twist that no one who danced to it in 2016 could have imagined. And since everyone is revisiting the year 2016 at the start of this year, 2026, I came here to talk about one of the biggest hits from that year and tell the dark story behind it. But for that, we need to go way back and understand who Mike Posner was before he took a pill in Ibiza. But before all that, what's up, Gerson Saldanha fam? Listen, if you're not subscribed to this channel yet, man, do it now. Subscribe, leave a like, and turn on notifications. You know I have a t-shirt store, right? The link's in the description. I'll include links in the description to the equipment I use to maintain this channel's great quality. Just like at the end screen, you'll see the playlist with all the documentaries I make here, which come out on Sundays. So now, let's get into the story of Mike Posner because I'm sure you'll be shocked if you don't know it yet. Just to give you some context, for those who don't know, he's the legend Mike Posner, who's 37 years old today. The guy is a singer, rapper, producer, and songwriter. And he was the one who wrote some pretty famous songs like Boyfriend by Justin Bieber.
Hey girl, it likes to be.
Now Sugar from Mara on Fire.
Yes, baby.
My Class is So Beautiful, Smoke and Drive by Big Sean. Big Sean, by the way, is a childhood friend of Mike Posner and was featured on several Mike Posner tracks he released throughout his career. Big Sean was a feature, but also because he and the other person have been friends since childhood. That was before the success, songwriting, and everything else. The guy was studying sociology at Duke University, and that was back around 2009. There, he recorded and released his first mixtape, Reflections of a Lost Thing, which caught the record label's attention. JJ, who would become part of RCA and Sony. And within that label, he also started working on his first studio album titled 30-31 Minutes to Take Off, which was released in August 2010. And on that album, there was a track that became extremely popular at that time. I'm talking about the song Cooler Than Me, man. If you don't remember that time, then Cooler Than Me was a huge hit. The song reached number 6 on the Hot 100 and it was played everywhere. Man, I remember watching MTV and they were always introducing Mike Posner as like a breakout artist who gained major attention with Cooler Than Me, making us want to check out the album and more.
This one tore up the dance charts. Mike Posner with Cooler Than Me.
And there's even an acoustic version of Cooler Than Me where Big Sean drops some bars, which is also pretty cool. Oh.
You think you're cooler than me. You got designer shades just to hide your face.
Acoustic music has always been a key part of Mike Posner's career, and we'll discuss it further soon. But at that time, the guy was so big, man, that he started performing and making guest appearances at shows and even on songs by big artists from that time. Like, for example, Lil Wayne, who was an extremely popular guy. But not even these associations would help Mike Posner stay in the music industry after the success of Cooler Than Me. In other words, to put it simply, his career started to go downhill. I believe that a big part of it is because Mike Posner kind of became successful with a song that mixes rap and electronic music, but his real style was acoustic. That's what he liked, guitar and vocals, or guitar with a few instruments. A style much more folk than pop, hip-hop, or electronic. But as the 2010s went by, he started to become known as a one-hit wonder. In other words, that guy who only has one song and is only known for it, and that made Mike Posner extremely pissed off. Then in 2015, he released a song/rant, a song on guitar and vocals pretty much, called I Took a Pill in Ibiza. But alright, Gerson, what is this song really about? According to Mike Posner himself in some interviews, after the success of Cooler Than Me, he would stay in his big house in Los Angeles with his schedule completely empty, and also completely forgotten by the industry, by other artists, with no shows, no appearances on TV programs, just an immense emptiness inside himself. But he had a friend in the music scene who always supported him whether he was in the spotlight or not, and that guy was Avicii. Well, Avicii had known Mike Posner since the time Mike was in college. In fact, he even sent him some beats back then. He says he listened to Avicii's hits like Levels, for example, way before everyone else. And then Avicii was working on his next studio album, at least that's what I believe, judging by the way Mike Posner always tells the story. He must have been working on his classic album Stories. So Mike accepted the invitation to work on this guy's album and flew to Sweden, which is Avicii's home country. When he got there, they worked together for a few days. And after that, like I told you, Mike Posner had an empty schedule, so he hung out around Europe. But Avicii had a show to do in Ibiza, Spain just a few days later, so Mike asked Avicii if he could come to his show. Avicii agreed, and this is where the story gets more interesting. Well, as I was telling you, Mike went to Spain and he arrived a day before Avicii. He says in interviews that he arrived at the hotel, saw people partying, saw people really happy, and like apparently it was a dream setting, exactly the kind of place he wanted to enjoy. Yeah, to clear his mind since he was really stressed out about the success that wasn't coming to him. Anyway, he was looking for something to fill his emptiness, but that something wasn't in that place. He also says in interviews that on the day of Avid's show in Ibiza, he alternated between the VIP area and the crowd. And when he was there in the crowd, he was always a little closer to the front. And he looked at Avid up there singing and entertaining the audience. He thought, man, that could be me. Damn, I messed everything up. I'm a failure, I'm really bad, blah, blah, blah. And he thought he would fill his emptiness if in the middle of that crowd, someone recognized him as the boss motherfucker. Mike Posner, who created the song Cooler Than Me, which didn't happen until some guys showed up who did recognize Mike Posner. Mike was there drunk, enjoying Avid's show, and he started talking to these guys until one of them pulled out a little bag and said, hey, I've got some pills here, want one? And he accepted without even knowing what it was. Then, the guy doesn't remember anything else that happened that night. He only remembers waking up the next day feeling like he was 10 years older and feeling like trash. So, he took that bad experience he had there in Ibiza, put it all down on paper, and that's how I Took a Pill in Ibiza came about. Much more of a reflective song with more acoustic guitar and vocals, a slightly more serious track, Capel in Ibiza. Until it fell into the hands of the Norwegian electronic music duo Seb. The guys remixed Mike Posner's vocals and turned I Took a Pill in Ibiza into one of the biggest party, electronic, and dance hits of the last decade. Ibiza. The song became Mike Posner's biggest hit and made it onto several best songs of 2016 lists and was even nominated for the Grammy for Song of the Year at the following year's ceremony. The track made such a splash that in April 2016 it was reported that the tourism authorities in Ibiza, Spain were bothered by the song as they felt it contributed to Ibiza's reputation as a place of debauchery related to illicit substances. Just so you can see that the success of a song can even bother the Ministry of Tourism. But the success of I Took a Pill in Ibiza in the remixed version confirmed for Mike Posner what he was really singing about in that song, right? That man, his emptiness was still there. Actually, man, I remember that when this song was released, a lot of acclaimed magazines, critics, and even many fans said that, man, there was no reason for this song to be a dance track if it was a confession from someone searching for meaning in life. Man, the song itself already said that, but I don't know, it seems like people ignored that and turned it into a party banger, and Mike Posner was the first guy to notice that. But if Mike Posner's career was going downhill and suddenly started to rise, his life was actually about to enter a much darker phase, and he was about to go through a heavy period of mourning. Avicii, who is Mike's friend mentioned in the song as we know, died in 2018. Mike Posner's father also died during the period between the success of I Took a Pill in Ibiza and Avicii's death. And also, to top it off, a very close friend of Mike unfortunately also passed away. That pushed the guy into a much deeper existential crisis than the lyrics of I Took a Pill in Ibiza. So he left the industry in his own way, right? Instead of trying for another hit. Mike left the celebrity life, distanced himself from the mainstream, and started looking for meaning outside of music. And this thing about searching for meaning, as you know, is a very broad thing, and it varies from person to person. In Mike's case, he thought he would find meaning simply by walking across the entire United States. In 2019, Mike walked across the United States. Walking more than 4,000 kilometers, he set out to cross the United States, walking more than 4,000 kilometers alone, without a team and without any publicity. During this walk, something very unusual happened. He was bitten by a rattlesnake when he was passing through the state of Colorado. He was taken to the hospital by helicopter, and that's actually how a lot of people found out about his journey. Posner said in interviews that he got the antidote in time, but he had to stay in the hospital for a few days and couldn't even stand up, which meant he wouldn't be able to walk for weeks. But as soon as he could walk again, what did he do? He continued crossing the United States. After that adventure, he entered a phase of physical challenges as a spiritual practice, not as a media adventure like I mentioned. And on June 1st, 2021, after almost 2 months of expedition and very intense training, Mike reached the summit of Mount Everest. The climb raised more than $230,000, which he donated to the Detroit Juice Center. Besides mountaineering, the guy started showing up everywhere, giving talks about mental health and motivation to live.
As artists, we turn our suffering, pain, and negativity into something beautiful. That's the alchemy of art. Maybe someone found joy in my pain through that song, and that's my alchemy.
Recently, Mike Posner has been posting a lot on social media about the 10-year anniversary of the success of I Took a Pill in Ibiza, saying that now he is a completely different person from who he was back in 2016. In other words, now he has found a partner, he converted to Christianity, and not long ago he rewrote the lyrics to I Took a Pill in Ibiza, and apparently he is singing this song at church services. Actually, it's not I Took a Pill in Ibiza, but the 2026 version, which shows not only the change in the lyrics, but also the change in Mike himself internally. It seems like he found what he was looking for, right guys? I'm trying.
Back to Ibiza. I got a hotel by the shore. And I'm 12 years older, I'm 10 years sober, but the beach isn't here no more. I'm trying to start a little family, 'cause all the things I was taking and decisions I was making had me headed towards tragedy. You know I just wanna live my life, you know I just wanna shine my light, you know I just wanna give what I got to the world and then go back home. 'Cause I only get this one life, so I think I'm gonna give my life up to God, 'cause he's got me back on stage singing, got me back on stage singing. What? Oh, I know love song, a love song, love song.
In short, guys, I Took a Pill in Ibiza was never really about Ibiza itself. It was never about illegal substances and even less about partying. It was always about feeling small in a place where everyone else seems huge. It was about realizing that the success you wanted so much doesn't fill the emptiness you tried to hide, you know? The world turned this confession into a hit. People danced, sang, it went viral, while the guy who wrote the song was sinking in grief, silence, and an existential crisis. And maybe that's why Mike Posner stopped singing those lyrics, because they belong to a version of himself that doesn't exist anymore. In the end, this song became a warning, one of those we only understand when it's already too late. Because sometimes the song that seems like the happiest at the party is actually the saddest one in the room. And now that you know this, maybe you won't listen to I Took a Pill in Ibiza the same way. You won't see Mikey Posner from 2016 the same way you see him in 2026, and maybe Sex and You is from 2016 just like you are today in 2026. Does that make sense to you? This makes sense to me, especially since I started this channel in 2016. I'm totally different now. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear yours. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone you think will appreciate the message. We're in this together. And also, big hug to Gerson Saldana. See you in our next video, and thanks